Hello, Crystal Palace. Hello, everybody. We are here. We are live from the library. Slightly later than planned because there's some gremlins got in the technical system, but we've managed to work them out and we are here and we're very excited. We've got a great show coming up for you today. I'm going to be talking to Mr. Robbie Capaldi, the actor and producer of ActorsFightReels. He's a very handsome chap who I've known for many, many years. But yes, I'd like to say welcome all. If you are joining us live on this Saturday afternoon, this is like the low-budget Crystal Palace version of SMTV Live. I don't know if any of you ever watched SMTV Live. It was Ant and Dec before they got huge. So I like to feel that I'm embodying Ant and Dec today because they're busy doing, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. So they've got me in instead to come and talk to Crystal Palace about all things theatre. This is Stage Talk Saturdays. Woo! So every Saturday from now until forever, I shall be talking to you about all things theatre, things that are coming up in the area. And if there's nothing coming up in the area, then we'll talk about other theatre things because there's always something going on. It's London. Loads of theatre everywhere all the time. But yes, today we are talking about Oh No It Isn't, which is coming to the Upper Norwood Library Hub from the 17th to the 20th of December. Oh no, it isn't. Oh yes, it is. I can guarantee you that's not in the show. That's the irony of it. It's the title of the show, but you never get to do it. You get to do all the other stuff. You'll see. Buy a ticket, come and see it. Tickets are on sale if you go to jlaproductions.co.uk/oh-no-it-isn't. And we put all of that info on the things wherever they go, so you can see them and you can click the links. We have two prices of ticket available. One is the standard ticket for £15, which is oh so very reasonable, which gets you a seat. And if you get the deluxe ticket, it's £20, and that gets you a seat and a mince pie and some mulled wine, which is just what you want at Christmas time, along with a blooming good laugh. So to talk more about Oh No It Isn't, we have the wonderful Mr. Robbie Capaldi joining me. How you doing, Robbie?
Hey, I'm very well, thank you. Very happy to be here on a Saturday afternoon.
What else would you be doing with your Saturday?
I'm watching Ant and Dec, I think, would be the the alternative.
Yeah, watching reruns of SMTV Live.
Oh, yes.
So you're playing Mr. Chancery in the production of Oh No It Isn't.
I certainly am, yes.
Would you like to tell us a little bit about the show and a little bit about your character?
So the show, I think someone described it as a love letter to Panto once, which I think is very apt. Although I think it swings wildly between being this well-written, poetic love letter and a slide into the DMs of the Panto. Definitely. So it takes place on and off stage of a small rural Panto. We play the Ugly Sisters, so we've got our dynamic on and off stage. So you get to peek behind the curtain and see what goes on in the dressing room and see how that plays out on stage. I won't give too much away. It is a panto in many ways, but it is also not for children in many other ways. Let's put that delicately for a Saturday afternoon. Yeah, it's really funny. It's really silly. It's got a lot of different aspects to it, and it's I feel incredibly relevant to the experience of being an actor. And it takes two very different perspectives on that. So myself and John will be kind of playing the two characters, and you get to see very different journeys through what it means to be an actor in a panto. Yeah. There we go.
So, I mean, I know how you got involved with this production, but do you want to tell us how you got involved with it and the sort of what you thought the first time you read the script and that kind of stuff?
It was a dark and stormy night, and I stumbled down an alley and was accosted by a young northerner named Adamson, who had a script that he had frantically scribbled in crayon. We got involved, and we were doing it at the Hope Theatre. Was the first kind of test run of it, and yeah, I think I got the script, and I had no idea what to expect because I have never appeared in a pantomime. I've never done one.
Secrets out.
Ever.
Secrets out.
Yeah, secrets out. I'm not against it. I would be very happy to be in a panto. So if anyone's casting any pantos, cool. Although I am booked between the 17th and the 20th of December this year to do this show. Yeah, so I read it, and uh, it just the gear changes in it are so dramatic that it's exciting to read, and you kind of get slungshot from one end of the spectrum to the other, and you watch these actors who obviously in their narrative, when we switch between being on stage and being in character as these huge dame personas that they put on, and then dropping all that away, stripping it back, and just being a very kind of naturalistic performance of the actor backstage in that very closed environment. Obviously in their time scale, they have all the prep and the stages, and they're in the wings and they get to go on, whereas in this kind of telling of this experience, it just cuts. It's brutal between the two. And I read this and I was like, okay, lights change and you're in a different character, and that was really exciting to read.
Boom, we're on stage. For those of you that aren't aware, that I actually wrote this play, and it was that's for the audience at home, for those of you watching, and it's based very much on my life and my experiences in panto. And when we first did this play, I played the role of Mr. Worth alongside Robbie as Mr. Chancery, and I was quite strict on the fact that in the panto scenes, as it were, the on-stage scenes, we have a lot of fun, a lot of audience interaction. We will still have that, even though it will be a socially distanced audience interaction in this version. But the dressing room scenes, I suppose they're almost, dare I say, sort of Pinteresque or Orton-esque. They're very sort of, I mean, I'm bigging myself up as a writer, but they are sort of very tightly scripted, and I personally, as a performer, I love the difference between having that freedom in the pantomime scenes and the security of the rhythm of the dressing room scenes. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenge to switch between the two modes, and to you get this immense sense of flying off the rails into unknown territory when you're playing the ugly sisters when we're in that stage. But there's the safety net that's allowed, and that's panto, and that's part of it. And there's a rich tradition of throwing the script out the window and dealing with whatever the audience is doing, what your co-actors are doing, and just making that is the show. And then you've got to be almost like turn on the dime, restoration comedy style. You've got to flip and be in a completely different world immediately, which is fun, challenging.
And it's so much fun as well, because it's very much a live piece, in that the audience plays such a big role in those pantomime scenes. Even though we only do 3 or 4 sort of pantomimic scenes, they do play a large part in it, don't they? And they're very much, every night you get a different reaction from the audience. You respond to it in a different way, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's something that I'm most excited about this year. I've been really very fortunate to do a lot of online theatre, and work in kind of different contexts that way, and do some pre-recorded things and a bit of voice stuff. And that's the element that it's really hard to recreate. And we do our best with, like, YouTube has the live comment section, so you get that sense as an audience when you're watching that there is an audience with you. You're not just on your own or with your family or your bubble watching it. You've got that community. But as a performer, you don't get that feedback, and there's nothing like doing comedy to a camera and there's no laughter. There's not even a smile to give you a clue that you're in the right direction or that anything you're doing is landing. So that I'm very, very excited to get back to, and just have that relationship with the audience and play with that.
Yeah, and I think actors have missed having audiences just as much as audiences have missed having something to go to. Like, tickets have been on sale for about a week now, and they are moving, which is great to see. People are keen to come and see something. But tell us a little bit more about, like, the show Must Go Online that you've been doing. You've been involved in quite a few Shakespearean performances, haven't you?
Oh my goodness! So the show Must Go Online, the juggernaut that is, anyone who's not heard of it, it's a YouTube streamed Shakespeare performance, doing the entire first folio works of Shakespeare, start to finish, and over an 8-month period. You'd rehearse it, start on a Saturday, and it would go on the Wednesday. All the rehearsals happen on Zoom. The performance happens on Zoom. I think only 2 or 3 times did 2 actors appear on a single camera. The rest, it was all over the world, and it's 50-50 gender casting. So yeah, it's a really spreading open. Any role can be played by any actor, and it's such a delight to see different adaptations and different interpretations of these characters that we've seen kind of played by all manner of actors, but usually within a small range, and then that's just blown wide open. So Rob Miles and Sarah Peachy kind of direct and produce the shows. I mean, I can't imagine, they must have been asleep for a week now, because it came down not this Wednesday gone, the one before. It was the last show of the run, and it's a Herculean task to do that. So yeah, I hope they've got their feet up. But they're free. They're on YouTube forever for anyone to watch. So I highly recommend, if there's a Shakespeare play, if you're studying Shakespeare, if you've never watched Shakespeare before, if you if you have a gap in your knowledge of it, if you're someone who's collecting the happy families of Shakespeare plays, and there's one that's eluded you because no one ever puts it on, it's there. Go and watch it.
And we have just shared a link, so you can go online and have a look and check those out. Who are some of the characters you got to play in these then?
So I started off in Comedy of Errors, playing one of the Antiphalae. It's a play about twins and about the confusion around those. So it's very funny, very slapstick. It's one of the shortest. It's either the shortest or the second shortest of his plays. And it's very snappy, very big character comedy, wonderful cast. My twin was in New York, so we were doing that.
Wow.
Yeah, so just all over the world, working with people and doing that. So I started in that one. I played Iachimo in Cymbeline, which is one of my favourite Shakespeare characters, because he's got so many different flaws and facets to him that you just get to explore, and he gets put in such a melting pot of situations that he has to try and navigate. But he's a deeply flawed and a quite unlikable person.
So similar to yourself in many ways, Robbie.
I got to take off this mask of being friendly and nice and affable. Now I throw all that away and just be terrifying.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I got to play those, and I did the swing role. So in online theatre, there's a real problem with technology, as we found out today. We've been delayed because of tech. It happens, and during the online performances, we have at least 2 swings who have been in all the rehearsals. They sit there and they make 1,000 different notes, and they're ready at any moment to just jump straight into whichever character is having technical issues at that moment. Pick up the torch, run with it until that actor has either got their camera back, or if we've lost them into the Zoom ether, you carry on to the end of the show or the scene. And so there's a lot of responsibility, and it's an amazing safety net to have. And in Cymbeline, I had one moment which is immortalized forever, where my camera just wouldn't start, and they were saying, Signor Giacomo, and they're hammering the button, and it's going error message, error. And Gareth, who was the swing, I was typing swing into the chat, and he jumped in and just ran with that scene. And as soon as I rebooted the whole system, and we switched back in, which is something you don't ever really do on stage. If the understudy goes on, they go on and they do the second half. That's usually how it works. The best way to describe it is if you go on a set and you turn the door handle and someone's locked the door for you to get on stage, and you can hear the understudy sprint from the wings in, and and start doing the lines. But yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
And quite wonderful.
It sounds like such a different experience to anything I've ever done. So I can imagine that must have been terrifying, being there and knowing that your camera's not going live and you're supposed to be like going live in front of I don't know how many people on all over the world watching you, and you're there going ah. Has anything like that ever happened to you, like on stage in a performance?
Um, not in the way of not being able to get on stage. I mean, I did a wonderful production a couple of years ago where we hammered out the rehearsals in record time and threw this very complicated show together. We got on stage and we were a few lines in it was the preview, so this is completely forgivable, but we both completely lost the script, and myself and the other actor looked at each other, and the way that we described it in the pub afterwards was was standing alone in a desert and screaming into the void, and then turning around and seeing the other actor there screaming into the void as well. And we were just looking at each other going, what's happening? What is this play now? And then you negotiate and you re-find each other in that moment, and you just play and play and play until something happens that you go, oh, that's where we were, that's what this show is, and you carry on. And then you chat to the audience afterwards and you go, oh, did you notice the bit where the lines just completely went and we were just kind of talking to each other? And they're like, no, what? No, it was great. It was fantastic start to finish.
Yeah, it does always feel like a lifetime, doesn't it, when you're on stage and you know that something's gone slightly wrong. And most of the time the audience haven't noticed. But there is actually a moment like that in Oh No It Isn't. I've written in that moment for the character of Mr. Worth that John Gregor is playing this time, that he starts to lose it in front of this panto audience, and your character's there going, come back to me, come back to me. And it actually leads to my favourite moment ever. And I say this, I'm aware of how conceited I'm being, that it's a play that I've written and I played this character, but it is my favourite moment that I've ever performed on stage, when this character sort of completely loses it live in front of an audience and does, the unforgivable in a family show. And
no spoilers. Buy the tickets.
Spoilers.
Come and find out what that is.
Yeah, you have to buy a ticket online. But it's such a wonderful moment to be able to explore that moment, but do it in the safety of knowing that it's not actually going wrong. But you sort of, we're doing it in a way that lets the audience in on, this is what sometimes happens. This is how mad it can be and how utterly terrifying for an actor in that situation when the unthinkable happens. And then of course we go into sort of what I call in the script the third act, which is just the two of them in the dressing room after the pantomime performance has finished, when the mask really slips for the two of them. And for me, that's the joy of some of it is seeing the most heartfelt moments of these characters, just genuinely connecting with each other, and standing there in full drag, like just with a wig on and a face full of makeup, talking about how they've always wanted to play Hamlet, or how do you find the costumes and the makeup?
I was going to say we can't pass up the opportunity to talk about the amazing costumes. They're different for this run, which is very exciting. The first round we borrowed them from, or we hired them from York Theatre Royal, and they were these fantastic dame costumes that were just, the craftsmanship is amazing, and it just gives you put it on and the character just comes alive out of it in a really fantastic way. And then the new ones, I've only seen pictures of them, so I'm very excited to get into the dress. And
the frocks, they are fun. It's part of panto that everything is so colourful and so larger than life, and because the scene flips between being in the dressing room and being on stage, we felt in the design we couldn't really go for a full sort of pantomime effect in terms of set, so we really sort of thought that the costumes have to be eye-catching. There has to be that wow factor, and I think that the costumes definitely do that. And when you mix it with a face full of makeup and your beautiful face, Robbie,
Oh, stop it, you.
And the wigs and everything, it really is, it is in no expense spared. And so the audience are in for a treat, aren't they? I think.
Yeah, I think it's such a kind of selection box of of theatrical tricks and delights that you get all the best of the panto world that we could get in there, and you get all the best of a kind of very slightly kitchen sinky drama in some ways that it brings it right down, and it manages to throw these two very different worlds up against each other. So there's kind of something for everybody in there,
Except the children.
except the children. No
Yeah.
children.
Bit of
Don't bring the
strong
children.
language, so don't bring the kids.
Strong.
Unless they've all heard it before. When I was 13, the school I went to, everybody was swearing left, right, and centre. But Robbie, you're from the south. It was probably different where you were.
Luke, you've fallen into a trap that most people do with me. I'm not from the south.
Oh no, you're
I
not.
was born in Leeds and I grew up in Cumbria,
Yeah.
in the Lake District. So
Still
yeah,
posh.
very northern.
Compared to me, you're posh.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, no, I have the affliction of posh voice, no money.
So tell me, if you had to pick one bit of the show that was your favourite bit of the whole show, which bit would it be? Throwing you on the spot there, haven't I?
Do you know? I'm going to cop out slightly. It changes, and I think this is one of the great things about having a show where we are allowed to improvise. That every show, someone will find something new, or there'll be a new moment that's discovered, and that's my favorite thing from that